All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Polzin with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the Week 16 Sunday Christmas slate. It's a little 3-game slate, but it's one that I'm pretty excited about because there's lots of value, and I think the lineup process is going to be a little bit more straightforward than typical weeks. And we got some very soft pricing, which is going to make it easier to put out some good builds. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you guys enjoy the coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. So starting out with the Green Bay Packers, okay? I'm going to go game by game and position by position, team by team. So starting with Aaron Rodgers, I think it makes a ton of sense to be on Aaron Rodgers. He has been an extremely consistent quarterback. He could have had a bigger game against the Rams. We all saw that. Christian Watson kind of let him down kind of on two plays. First, there's the screen, or it wasn't a screen. It was just more like an end around pass. I thought he could have scored on that. And then obviously the quick like bubble screen, if you will. So if he hits that, it's 15 DK points again, which he has consistently hit. Gets a good matchup against the Miami Dolphins. And the biggest worry with Aaron Rodgers at this price point, I should add, is that for some reason or another, he has struggled to win in Cali and Florida. It's just one of those weird things. I think given the matchup, he should be able to go out and have a good game. I'm not too particularly worried about it. And he is someone that I think we should be somewhat trying to go out of our way to play him at the quarterback position. And that's just because, we don't have that many great quarterback plays on this slate. And that's part of it. So looking at running back, we got to see the news on Aaron Jones. Most likely going to play, most likely going to be a stud, most likely someone we're going to be going out of our way to play. Aaron Jones 2 weeks ago, was limited against Chicago. Okay. Was still able to put up 10 DK points. And then last week was back to his normal snap share where he was getting about 56 to 60% of the snaps. Now, AJ Dillon also had a good game, playing about 40% of the snaps. Okay. Obviously he had 2 touchdowns, which was huge. Okay. If they're going to make a late season push, they're going to need more of that out of AJ Dillon. And so if we're going to get, let's just say right around 12 opportunities out of AJ Dillon, that is something we do need to be thinking about when we are making our lineups. Now, obviously in cash, not going to be using them, but in GPPs, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that both Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon have a good game. Okay. And if we're doing that, obviously you're not playing Aaron Rodgers at quarterback because, it just wouldn't make any sense. At receiver, I do think it's pretty simple. We are just going to continue to play Christian Watson. Like I said, almost scored a touchdown, probably should have had a touchdown, but still saw 6 targets, still was on the field for about 90% of the snaps, still looked really good. Romeo Doubs didn't eat into his snaps really at all, maybe 4% if you will, but still looked good, still had a cheap price tag, gets a great matchup against Miami. I think we're going out of our way to play him still. Allen Lazard was kind of a bit of a letdown. Played in 94% of the snaps, but didn't really do much with them. I do think he is someone you can still look at. Obviously, if you are using Aaron Rodgers, you could potentially use him. Romeo Doubs will be an interesting play as well. Romeo Doubs played the snap count that we kind of thought he would, which is about 30% of the snaps in his first game back. The question is, will that snap share double? I don't know. He certainly looked good, but it's not going to come at the expense of Christian Watson. Okay. And obviously someone like Randall Cobb has Aaron Rodgers' trust as well, and he's played about 40% of the snaps, and he really came up with some clutch catches as well. So I don't know what the snap count allocation is going to be. The most logical thing would be maybe Lazard sees the snap count go down a little bit in favor of Romeo Doubs. But I don't know. It's tough. I think Watson's secure with the snaps. I think Lazard's going to get 80% of the snaps, and maybe they just try to do a couple more 4 receiver sets. I don't know. It's tough to say. I wish we knew. We just haven't seen it yet. Tight end wise, you could go Robert Tonyan. I don't really want to go with any of them really. Defensively, I don't think we're playing the Packers D. All right, let's go ahead and get into Miami. All right, so looking at the Miami Dolphins now. Tua, I don't think we can play Tua. 7K is a high price point for him. He hasn't been good in a while DFS-wise. And obviously gets a matchup against the Green Bay Packers, one that you don't really want to be targeting. Now, if you are playing Tua, I would say you'd have to play Jalen Waddle because Jalen Waddle has really struggled lately. Sure, he made one big play last week, but besides that, the biggest reason I think why Tua has struggled in DFS is because Waddle has struggled in DFS. His snaps have gone down as well. So sure, you could take a risk with Waddle and Tua in a GPP. It'd probably be a lower owned stack, but I'm not particularly going out of my way to play him. Looking at the running back position, I do think if Jeff Wilson Jr. is ruled out, this slate becomes a lot easier because then we are just locking in Raheem Mostert. If that's the case, if Jeff Wilson Jr. is out, we're going to get a running back that's going to get right around 18 total opportunities, playing about 70 to, let's say, 90% of the snaps in a plus matchup at this cheap price tag. That'd be highly encouraging. That'd be very tough to pass up on. And so as it sits right now, I'm going to I don't want to assume Jeff Wilson's going to be out, but maybe. I mean, Mostert looked really good. But yeah, I mean, Mostert just becomes a lock if Jeff Wilson Jr.'s out. If he plays, they're both okay plays. I would imagine to be like a 60-40 split. Which way, I don't really know. They both look good. The last we saw, it was Mostert leading the head of that running back duo. So that would be my assumption. I do want to try to figure out a way to get Tyreek Hill into my builds. I mean, just super consistent, guys. He's always on the field, almost averaging 10 targets a game. It's tough to really beat that. It just is. Even against maybe Rasul Douglas and Jari Alexander, sure, could his production be hindered? It certainly could, and it probably will be. But is he still most likely going to get 15 plus DK points? Yes. And that is super difficult to pass up on this slate, especially on a slate in which you guys will see we'll get some good value plays out there. Tight end was, I don't think we have to play Mike Gesicki. I don't really want to go that route. Defensively, not going to be playing the Dolphins. All right, let's go ahead and move into the next game. And guys, just as an FYI, I'm breaking it down this way so I don't have to do 3 separate showdown videos. I might still do one for the Tampa Bay Arizona game, but I want to give you guys the proper information so that you guys can take it and apply it to the showdown slates as well. So the Denver Broncos are most likely going to have Russell Wilson back. Well, they are. He's not on the injury report. And he's coming off of which was his best game of the year thus far against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, part of that was due to some blown coverages, but he was able to take advantage of it and not mess it up. Now he gets a matchup with the LA Rams, a defense that, is okay. Could Russell Wilson have a good game? Sure. There is the potential for that. Let's just put it that way. Could you play a stack with Russell Wilson and let's just say Judy and Courtland Sutton? And I think that's the only route as to which I would play a stack with those two is if Courtland Sutton's back. Before we get into Courtland Sutton, just very cheap, very cheap. So yeah, I see a path as to which you could play Russell Wilson. I'm not particularly loving that. Latavius Murray is going to be someone that I think we have to look at as well on this slate, given the price point. And that's the biggest issue that we're having on this slate is that we could have Mostert be extremely cheap and Latavius Murray be extremely cheap. I think it is a slate in which we kind of need to play 2 running backs, okay? Going against the LA Rams, obviously a defense that just gave up a ton of points to both Aaron Jones and also A.J. Dillon. Obviously Denver's going to be able to see that, how the Packers are able to beat them, and thus, probably the Denver Broncos are going to try to mimic that. Latavius Murray did play in about 64% of the snaps, leading to Marlon Mack in about 29% of snaps. So maybe in a showdown slate, you could potentially look at Mack, but I don't think we need to do that on the main slate. Getting into the receiver situation. So Jerry Jeudy, if Courtland Sutton's inactive again, I think Jeudy at this price tag is going to be intriguing. Last 2 games, 8 targets, 9 targets, been on the field a ton, 14.6 DK points. And then obviously the 3 touchdowns were fluky, but went off there. So 3 straight games of over 10 DK points. I wouldn't imagine it is difficult. So Jalen Ramsey has been burnt a lot, but he can hinder production, especially against a receiver like Jerry Jeudy. That's where I want Courtland Sutton to be back. Courtland Sutton would be a major discount play if he is playing and he's not banged up at all. Now there is the risk of him re-aggravating his hamstring injury. That happened, okay? That's the biggest worry. But if we can get Courtland Sutton at this price tag, a guy that was extremely consistent, a guy that barely left the field, obviously Russell Wilson really likes him. Oh, that is just such a cheap price tag. You're almost forced into playing him at that point. Tight end wise, I don't think we have to play Greg Dulcich on this slate. And then defensively, I do think the Broncos do make somewhat of sense. On the main slate, on the big slates, I typically say pay down at defense. Do not spend money on defense. And it works out. It's only hasn't worked out once this season. This is a little bit different. This is a 3-game slate. This, choosing the correct defense is most likely going to be the difference maker on this slate, unfortunately. We spend all this time talking about who are the top plays, what are the top stacks, and all it comes down to is the freaking defense, which is the luckiest thing ever. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I do see a path as to which you could play the Denver Broncos defense. If you're playing the Denver Broncos defense, you want to be playing Latavius Murray. It's kind of as simple as that. All right, now we're going to get into the LA Rams. So Baker Mayfield, he came out and looked like Baker Mayfield once again against Green Bay. We know it. He's not good. Really had one good throw against the Raiders and still only put up 14 points. I mean, it was bad. He's bad. Okay. It's as simple as that. So that's why I do like the Denver Broncos defense. 5.3. Why would we pay 5.3 for Baker Mayfield when we can pay 5.9 for Aaron Rodgers in a much better matchup? That's my struggle with this slate. Okay. The freaking Rams, though, it's so annoying the way that they're using their running backs. Okay. Cam Akers, snap counts the last 4 weeks, 30% 4 weeks ago, and then 70, 47, and 76. He's looked really good. Okay. Might I add. And he's also at a cheap price tag. Kyron Williams snap counts. Okay. 70, 28, 31, and then like 9. Okay, barely played. And then Malcolm Brown, they're kind of trying to use. So that's the annoying part, is that you could play Cam Akers at a very cheap price tag and probably lock in double-digit opportunities. And he has looked good. And I would say that this is the weakness of the Denver defense, is the running game. But it's tough. I don't want to play him. Okay, the value here for the Rams is going to be in the receiver. With Ben Skoranek out, Van Jefferson already was playing about 100% of the snaps. He just needs some more targets to go his way. Can that happen? It could. And honestly, at this price tag, he is too tough not to play a little bit of. Yes, it's a difficult matchup. Yes, Patrick Surtain is probably going to shut him down, but if he can get like 7 targets, that'd be very difficult to pass up on. After that, Tutu Atwell at a very, very cheap price tag for someone that has been getting some manufactured touches, for a guy that played 80% of the snaps last week, which was a season high, with Ben Skoranek out, with Cooper Kupp out, with Allen Robinson out. Like, it does make sense that he's going to continue to get a lot of snaps. But who will it be after that? I mean, we could easily go with Austin Tremmel, who he played a lot of snaps last week. The last 3 weeks, he's seen his snap share go up 16, 19, and 31% last week. Didn't do anything in the passing game because Baker Mayfield, but he's minimum price. And then Lance McCutcheon, he's a guy that was a preseason stud, a guy that we were targeting a ton. The last time we saw him get a significant snap share was a few weeks ago, and he saw 48% of the snaps, but he only got 4 targets and didn't do anything in that game. I kind of expect it to be him to step up and replace Ben Skoranek, but maybe it's Brandon Powell. And I wish we got news that Brandon Powell is going to play a significant snap share, because I think he's such a dynamic playmaker. We keep seeing it each time he touches the ball. I just want to be able to use him. Okay. The difficult part about the Rams is that we don't know exactly who's it going to be. I mean, Tutu Atwell probably going to get around 60K points. If he scores a touchdown, that's going to help you out a lot. But in terms of like cash or even GPPs, like, it is a very risky guessing game. I would say if you are playing a bunch of GPPs, you do want some exposure to the other Rams receivers, because one of them has to do well, right? Maybe. And then Tyler Higbee at 4.1. He is kind of the standout tight end play, I think, on this slate. Going to be playing about 80% of the snaps. I think we might just see a lot of targets force fed his way with Skoranek out now. He's basically their only starter that's healthy and active. He is, like, for the offensive playmakers, he's the only starter that's playing in this game, which is crazy. I mean, Van Jefferson, you could say, but beginning of the season starter, which is crazy. Okay. Going to be on the field a ton, should have a nice floor. I do like Tyler Higbee. Now, some people are probably going to want to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm not going to say it's wrong. You could certainly go with Tom Brady, who gets a great matchup. And I know I said Aaron Rodgers is going to be tough not to play, but so is Tom Brady at 6.1. Just throwing the ball a ton. The last 4 weeks, over 43 passing attempts in all of those games, has had a nice, strong, floor. You take out the game against the Niners, who's a tough matchup. He's been doing well. It's tough not to like Tom Brady on this slate. Just going against Arizona as well. Like, this is kind of a must-win game for them. I could easily see him scoring 2 touchdowns. Okay, will the interception still be there? Probably, but given the matchup, it is going to be tough not to play him. Now, looking at the running back situation, also very difficult. You got Leonard Fournette, getting involved in the passing game a ton, which obviously creates a nice, safe floor. Fournette played in 59% of the snaps last week, whereas Rachaad White only played in 38% of the snaps. That was flip-flop 2 weeks ago. Okay, and obviously Brady loves Fournette. Showdown-wise, I think you have to play Fournette. Game Slate-wise, it's so difficult. Like, I don't know if we can. Because we're going to want to play James Conner again. It's difficult. I like Fournette. I'm going to have some pieces of him. And really what I'm probably going to end up doing is just kind of mixing and matching. I want 3 of these running backs on the slate, whether that be Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, Mostert, Murray, Cam, like, all this running backs are good plays given their price points. And that's the difficult part of this slate. But there's a lot of value out there with them, so you could really make some unique GPPs work with. So after that, like Chris Godwin, very tough not to love Chris Godwin. Just been an extremely, extremely consistent player. I think it's like every slate Keenan Allen's on, I tell you guys to play him. Every slate Chris Godwin's on, I tell you guys to play him, just because I like the safe floors. I do. It's tough to ignore those. And then Mike Evans, like, he is just due for a good game. It just should happen. He's had so many like fluky plays in which, should have been touchdowns, were touchdowns that got called back or overturned. Like, he has had a very close to a really great season. And so I do think it's kind of crazy that we're getting him at this cheap price tag. Like, the targets are still going to be there for him. It wouldn't be surprising if like he closes the season and ends up with like 9 touchdowns, but like, doubles his touchdowns on the season. Gets, 2 this week and 1 next week. Like, that just wouldn't be too shocking because it's something that like just should happen. So if you're not playing Tyler Higbee, you'd be going with Cade Otton at a very cheap price tag. He has taken over for that tight end role. Okay, playing about 65% of the snaps the last 2 weeks. Very cheap price tag. Obviously gets a great matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. That's highly intriguing to me. And then getting into the last team on the slate, going to get into the Cardinals. So looking at Baker Mayfield without the draft stock, yes, I'm talking about Trace McSorley. Same dude. He really is. It's strange. Can you play him? Probably not. But I will say it wouldn't be shocking to see him get 2 passing touchdowns. Okay, probably going to have a few mistakes. We know that. But he's going to try to rush the ball a decent amount. So you could probably expect that. It could be an okay play. Honestly, it doesn't take much for Russian quarterbacks to do anything. And I'm not saying he's directly a Russian quarterback, but he's not afraid to pull it down and run. Okay. 4.8, probably not playing him. Maybe 5% of the builds just to have him out there. I did mention James Conner. It's very difficult not to love James Conner again. Just kind of lather, rinse, repeat here, playing in 90% of the snaps the last 3 weeks. Has had 2 difficult matchups in a row and one off against. Okay, now he gets a little bit easier of a matchup going against the Bucs. You expect him to have a good game. The issue or the worry with James Conner would be that Trace McSorley is the quarterback, but I don't know if that really changes much. He still had a good game last week with McSorley playing some, and Colt McCoy at quarterback, he still did well with him. So I do think James Conner is someone we need to be going out of our way to play. Receiver-wise, I do love DeAndre Hopkins, even with McSorley in there, and then I also do love Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown is just way too cheap for the amount of snaps that he's playing for the player that he is. Sure, the last 2 weeks have somewhat been disappointments, but the targets have been there, okay? And I expect the targets to be there again. I mentioned Denver and New England, very difficult matchups, okay? Now he gets an easier matchup, and I guess it's going to be worse quarterback play, so that's the difficult part, but 5.4, a very cheap price tag for someone that it really doesn't take much for him to go off. Heck, you catch a long deep pass and, break the slate. I think he's a sneaky good play, a great GPP play. Tight end wise, Trey McBride, you could play it. Love it too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the core play. All right, so at quarterback, I think it's pretty easy. We're either going Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, given kind of Tom Brady's price difference. I think we're going to go with Tom Brady, just given the slight amount more consistency, but I can see playing both of them in a majority of your builds, obviously splitting them. At the running back position, James Conner is going to be the top play that you're going out of your way to play. I will say if Mostert, I guess if Jeff Wilson is out, then you are loading up on Raheem Mostert, because that would just be the easy move to go with. If he plays, then you're probably just trying to get Aaron Jones in there at the running back position. And then we're just mixing and matching from there. A little bit of Fournette, a little bit of Dillon, then it'd be a little bit Mostert, a little bit of Wilson, a little bit of Latavius Murray, and then a little bit of Cam Akers. That's just what it is. Probably just mixing and matching a little bit. At the receiver position, I want to fit Tyreek Hill into my builds, and probably Hopkins. I'm not as gung-ho about Hopkins. Chris Godwin makes a lot of sense, but I like just going with the price discounts. Christian Watson has just as much upside as basically any of them, honestly. And then you look at Cortland Sutton. I feel like that's a very cheap price tag for Cortland Sutton if we get news that he's healthy and active. And then I kind of want to figure out which Rams player I could play. I just don't know which one that's going to be. At tight end, I think it's simple as well. You're either going Cade Otton or you're going Tyler Higbee. I'm going to go Cade Otton, just give him the price tag. And so defensively, can we pay down for the Packers defense? Maybe. They are the lowest price defense on the slate, and then we have a decent amount of salary left over. So let's get into the first look build. So talking about the build here, if we're going Tom Brady, then we do need to try to fit probably Chris Godwin into that build, and then you could potentially even go Mike Evans. This is a very solid GPP build. It's a build that makes a ton of sense. Okay, let's say you didn't want to go with Tom Brady. Let's say you want to go with Aaron Rodgers. Let's go ahead and show you guys that as well. So I'm not saying to do this. I haven't exactly figured out the way I'd want to do it, but this is a way you could stack with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe not having Aaron Jones in there. I don't know. I feel like Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones can coincide pretty well. I don't like the idea of having Cobb and Dobbs together. I'd want to split that up. So, and heck, maybe even go Lazard instead of Dobbs, because he's just coming in the field more. So that would be another route as to which you could go lineup process-wise. But that's all I have for you guys for this video. It was a long one, but it's one in which there was a ton of great information. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys have a good Christmas and a happy New Year as well. That's all I have for you guys. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.